is a pit stop on our path to Krishna. Time to recalibrate, reevaluate, readjust our compass, take a break for Krishna. So happy EKADASI. Okay, let me see. So there's no verse um, assigned to this day. So we're going. I was offered to pick my own verse, and we're going to hear from the Son of God, the Son of Krishna. I was listening to a class by Vaisheshika Prabhu, and he was quoting that verse, Bhagavad Gita 4:20, famous verse. So I'd like to read this verse in this class. I can't see myself though. I can see Vijay Krishna, and he looks like a first-class scholar. I can see myself. Can you see me?
Yes, Prabhu. I can see you.
We see
Okay.
you.
Okay, Vijay Krishna can see me. That's a good sign. Okay. Krishna Kumari, welcome. Good morning. Okay, we are reading from Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 20. Tyaktva karma bhala sangam nitya tripto nirashraya karman abhipravitopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. Word for word by Srila Prabhupada. Tyaktva, having given up, karma phala asangam, attachment for fruitive results. Nitya, always. Triptaha, being satisfied. Nirashrayaha, without any shelter. Karmani, inactivity. Abhipravritaha, being fully engaged. Api, in spite of. Na, does not. Eva, certainly. Kinchit, anything. Karoti, do. Saha, he. Translation. Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. Report by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. This freedom from the bondage of actions is possible only in Krishna consciousness. When one is doing everything for Krishna, just from that line alone, we can, what's the word? Dissect. We can, what's the word? Diverse? No. Derive. We can derive so much knowledge, so much wisdom, so much freedom. A Krishna conscious person acts out of pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he has no attraction for the results of the action. He is not even attached to his personal maintenance, for everything is left to Krishna. Being detached from personal maintenance doesn't mean that we should neglect our personal maintenance. Detachment and neglect are two different things. So let's keep that in mind. Nor he's anxious to secure things, nor to protect things already in his possession. So we're not anxious, but that doesn't mean we're reckless, right? He does his duty to the best of his ability. There he comes, Srila Prabhupada. Here, he does his duty to the best of his ability and leaves everything to Krishna. Such an unattached person is always free from the resultant reactions of good and bad, and it is as though he were not doing anything. This is the sign of akarma, or actions without fruitive reactions, akarma, no karma. Any other action, therefore, devoid of Krishna consciousness, is binding upon the worker. And that is the real aspect of vikarma, as explained here and before. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master is opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him again and again and again. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Putale Shimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So before we begin, I'd like to seek your blessings so I can speak in line with Guru Sada and Shastra. Thank you, Adipurusha Prabhu, Jeffrey Ekler Prabhu. I see your bless in me. Thank you. I feel empowered. Okay, so wonderful verse. The the observance of Ekadashi is not a dietary. We've already discussed that. Well, we talk about it all the time. It's not just a mere dietary restriction. It's an opportunity to increase our awareness of Krishna. If we go about our life without awareness, it's like, have you ever had this experience when you read a book, a whole paragraph, and then all of a sudden you wake up and realize that I haven't been following. I have no idea what I've just read. Yeah. So without awareness, our whole life can go by like that. And then we wake up before it's time to check out and realize, oh, what did I just live? What did I just do? Right? Isn't that scary and sobering? So let's observe Ekadashi for Krishna's pleasure by increasing our awareness of Krishna's presence in every aspect of our lives as devotees. Krishna is everywhere. This is the ticket that I received just recently. So I'd like to publicly kiss it. Thank you, Krishna. It was done in me attempting to serve you. Somehow or other, the ticket came, no problem. Krishna sent the ticket, and Krishna taught me a lesson, and Krishna will definitely not let me go broke. So Krishna is present in every aspect of our life. So let's keep our apartments clean because Krishna is present there. Let's wash our bead bag regularly because there's Rasa Leela going on in there. If you look at Jeffrey Eckler Prabhu's backdrop, you'll see Rasa Leela. So that's what's going on inside our japa bag when we chant japa sincerely, with burning tears, with awareness. Because this time, it's a narrow opportunity when we chant japa. It's only 1.5, 2 hours in our day. It's not the entirety of our day. It's just a certain portion, certain part, rather small. And then, so we should take full advantage of it because this time will pass anyway, right? So why not give it to Krishna wholeheartedly? Why not become aware? Who am I chanting for? Why am I doing this? What is going through my mind? Vasudev Prabhu will confirm that when somebody leaves their body in the family, then the pujari is recommended to abstain from deity worship. And why is that? Who can guess? Why is this regulation there? When something difficult happens in the family, the pujari is recommended not to go on the altar. Who can guess? Anupam
Their
Prabhu.
mind is elsewhere.
Yeah, his mind is elsewhere. Yes, Anupam Prabhu, what was your answer?
It was the same. That, like you're saying, is it's almost impossible for him to concentrate on what he's doing.
Yeah, yeah. So it's very challenging to be aware of what we're doing, and it's acknowledged in the Shastra that awareness is a very hard thing to do. We are bombarded by breaking news, by all kinds of calamities, by all kinds of historic events, all kinds of things, and all those things are aimed at our awareness of spiritual master and Krishna. All those things. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, when that happens, it's important to practice to practice awareness. Right? It's something that it's a muscle. Awareness is a muscle that can be trained. Because if you don't train it, it dwindles. I have a friend of mine. He jumped in the water head down and broke his neck, and he can't walk. He was intoxicated. It was years ago, so he's in a wheelchair for life. And he says that my awareness of what I was doing was clouded by drinking, and I felt high, and I felt I could do anything, so I jumped, and now I can't walk. And he said I had no idea how quickly the muscles can dwindle, shrink if you don't use them. So the same happens to our awareness when we let those distractions in. Our awareness becomes fractured, and we can only concentrate for a certain amount of time if we allow those things to come in. There's this analogy in the Shastra somewhere where if you keep, let's say you're in your house and the thieves are outside trying to break in. If you keep them outside and deal with them while they're outside, it's easier, you know, when you keep your doors shut and they can be outside and you can guard your fortress. You have this advantage. But then if you let them in, if you let those things in your mind, then it becomes the same thieves, same you, the same house, but it's so much more difficult to handle those thieves once they're in. So you have to be very careful as to what we let in our heart. Things like judgment, things like unhealthy doubts, things like breaking news, and all those short clips from the AI universe. All those things are aimed at us. They're not innocent. They're not for our pleasure. They are targeting us, our awareness. And over time, we lose ownership of, uh, of our life like that. By losing our awareness, we lose ownership. We lose the sense of responsibility. And sometimes, as devotees, we may blame Krishna for it. Oh, it's Krishna's arrangement. Krishna is present. Krishna is behind that situation, and this is a mess. But somehow or other, Krishna allowed it, so therefore, it's not my responsibility, and I don't really have to change course. But usually, most of the time, calamity is a sign from Krishna that some course adjustment is required. It's a wake-up call. For us, practicing devotees, sadhakas, for pure devotees, calamities are source of pleasure. That's their rasa. They enjoy those things. It's a very elevated state of consciousness, but for us, it's a wake-up call. Okay, wake up. This is not a walk in the park. Get serious about your life. We can think, oh, look at this ticket, look at this bill, look at this situation, look at that situation. But then something really heavy duty happens. And then we realize that I was such a fool. I was such a fool, such a petty fool. And then all of a sudden our japa becomes sincere. We become aware. When we open the Shastra, every single syllable, every single word becomes meaningful, becomes striking. Sometimes that's what it takes. Some wake up call has to happen. And then all of a sudden we regain awareness, regain ownership. Because if we don't, then, like Haripusha Prabhu always says, this test from Krishna, this wake up call, will happen again and again and again until you wake up. Martin Hare Krishna, welcome to class. Martin woke up and came to class. Yeah. So ownership, we're talking about ownership. Then there's another verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Where is it? 420 and 330. Okay, let me go back to 330. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me. So works have to be there, right? Devotees aren't lazy. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me. Devotee is working for Krishna, and Krishna never goes out of business. If your family is upset with you, tell them, don't worry, I'm working for Krishna. God never goes out of business. With full knowledge of me, so knowledge is there. It's important to read the Shastra and train our brain muscle, increase our understanding of the Shastra. It's also important. We're not bookworms, but knowledge is important. This is a serious sampradaya. This is legit. This is not something sentimental. So knowledge is important. Without desires for profit, we are a non-profit. Maya can't tax us on anything we do in bhakti. Anything we do outside with fruitive mentality then will be taxed. Without desires for profit, this is Krishna's words, with no claims to proprietorship. So Krishna says, no proprietorship. We were talking about ownership, but then all of a sudden Krishna says, with no claims to proprietorship. How is that? Let's figure it out, dear devotees. It's in the purport. And free from lethargy, fight. Anybody feeling lethargic on this class, on this call? Anybody? Yeah. Morning class is my favorite time of day because finally there's no more lethargy. You can see the smiling faces of the devotees. You can see Jagannath Gopal. You felt a little lethargic, Prabhu? You came a little late? Was it lethargy? What was it?
Part of it. So what I do is I listen to YouTube till I get ready, and then I join Zoom. So it's not
I
that I miss
see.
any
I
part of
see.
the class. So
I see.
I don't want to miss this class. So next week.
Thank you, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. When you come in, I feel confident. You said, okay, I can be corrected if I say something that is off. So, and free from lethargy, fight. Get ready, like Jagannath Gopal, and fight. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, says, this verse clearly indicates the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties, as if in military discipline. Such an injunction may make things a little difficult in the beginning, right? It's a little difficult in the beginning, but then you never regret. If you do something for Krishna, you never regret it, even if it seemed difficult in the beginning. Nevertheless, Srila Prabhupada says, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna. because that is the constitutional position of the living entity. So it's not something, it's not an external imposition on the self. It's natural for us to do our duty with dependence on Krishna, because that's how we are. We are dependent on the Lord. The living entity cannot be happy independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord, because the eternal constitutional position of the living entity is to become subordinate to the desires of the Lord. And what is the Lord's desire? He wants us to be happy. Srila Prabhupada said, I just want you to be happy. That's Krishna's desire. Krishna's desire is not to enjoy and control. Krishna's essence is happiness. And his desire is to enjoy with his devotees. His desire is to reciprocate to the sincere service carried out by his devotee. Arjuna was therefore ordered by Shri Krishna to fight as if the Lord were his military commander. Srila Prabhupada is our commander-in-chief. One has to sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Supreme Lord. And sacrifice doesn't mean one has to burn everything, you know. Sacrifice means dedicate for us, practicing devotees. We have to burn everything in the fire of Sankirtana, in the fire of congregational chanting of the holy name. That's our sacrificial fire. That's how we burn things. We burn karma by owning it. Because if we don't take ownership of our past misdeeds, then they won't get burned, and they will keep bothering us. But once we take ownership, this pain will become meaningful, and we'll benefit from the pain. So ownership helps us burn karma and wake up and move on. So one has to sacrifice everything to the will of God, and at the same time discharged prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. So see, this is a different word, ownership and proprietorship. So proprietorship means this is mine so that I can do two things with it. What are the two things that I want to do with it? When I think I own something, what is it that I want to do with it? Two things, two aspects of material. It's a bedrock of material life. Two things, two bedrocks. Adipusha Prabhu raised his hand. I own it in order to do what?
Enjoy and manipulate.
Enjoy and control. Yes. Who was that? Was that the Queen of Smiles?
Yes.
Nice. Nice. Thank you, Jamunajaya. Yeah. So proprietorship means enjoyment and control, but ownership means responsibility. I take responsibility for what I'm doing in bhakti, and I'm detached from the result. The result is up to Krishna, but everything else, I own it. You can't screw up and blame Krishna for it. That's the principle. Or you can't blame the devotees. You can't blame the only person responsible for you are the source of your own pleasure and pain. It's you. I once complained to a very close friend of mine, Ganesham Prabhu. I'm always tempted to say his name in any class that I give. Always somehow his name always comes up. So I was complaining to him that Prabhu, there are, my wife, she doesn't wake up early enough, and she doesn't necessarily read Srimad Bhagavatam every day, and sometimes she chants japa on the go. And is she really progressing? Is our marriage making sense? Implying that I'm so advanced, I woke up early. That Krishna allowed me. I'm such a fool, but Krishna allowed me to wake up early, and yet I'm bragging about it. So, and Ganesham looked at me and said, he called me Prabhu. When you call somebody Prabhu, it's very sobering, right? Prabhu, he said, Prabhu, those things are for you to follow, not for her. So there was a major wake up call from me. He said, those things are for you. You own it. Don't point fingers. This devotee, that devotee. You. And it's a very liberating mentality when you are not pointing fingers. And when you take ownership, because when you take ownership, you immediately acquire the key to solve the issue. Because if you blame, then immediately you give up control over the situation. Healthy control, not the sense of enjoying and controlling, but you have no influence over this situation when you blame. But when you take ownership, you immediately get a chance to do something about it. So it's very liberating. You break free basically when you take ownership. It sounds counterintuitive, but that's how it works. You take ownership and you become free. Ishwari Sundar left. Okay. Yagya will go on. Ishwari Sundar will be back. So Krishna ordered Arjuna to fight. By the way, did we offer obeisances to Arjuna Prabhu? I think we missed it. Arjuna Prabhu, we're bound down to you, to all the senior devotees, to Adipurusha Prabhu. Thank you for your association. So one has to sacrifice. Okay. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls. Therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called Adhyatma Chetas. What is, Jeffrey Prabhu, can you look it up? Adhyatma Chetas? Maybe it's in the verse. Yeah, Adhyatma Chetas, it's in the verse. Okay, Adhyatma means with full knowledge, Adhyatma, with full knowledge of the self. Yeah, Atma is the self. Adhyatma, full knowledge of the self, and Cheta means by consciousness. Chetasa. Okay, one becomes fully Krishna conscious or Adhyatma Chetas, in full consciousness of the self, full awareness, right? Krishna consciousness can be also translated as Krishna awareness. Nirasihi means that one has to act in order to be the master, but not expect fruitive results. So we master, we own things, we act, we take responsibility, but we don't expect fruitive results. We're not entitled to the fruit. We master, we kind of take conscious control of our life, but we don't, but that's not in regards to the fruitive results. In other words, we should be detached. That's what detachment is. Action coupled with no expectation. The cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer, but he does not claim a cent for himself. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person, but that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. That is the real purport of Mai, unto me. And when one acts in such Krishna consciousness, certainly he does not claim proprietorship over anything. So we take ownership of our actions, but we don't claim proprietorship over what belongs to Krishna. This consciousness is called nirmama, or nothing is mine. Nirmama. Nothing is mine, but I use it in service of Krishna. Nothing is mine doesn't mean that I'm going to walk right over it. I'll pick it up and I offer it to Krishna. We're not neglectful. We're not stupid. Srila Prabhupada says, utility is the principle. So we will utilize it. It's not mine, but I'll use it in Krishna's service. Nirmama. And if there is any reluctance to execute such stern order, which is without consideration of so-called kinsmen in the bodily relationship. See, I thought my wife was reluctant, but it's me. It's me. I'm the reluctant one. That reluctance should be thrown off. And again, you can that should be applied inwardly. It's not that you're gonna throw off someone else's reluctance. You can do that by example, by inspiring them, by offering correction when it's your position. But mostly, you should apply that inwardly, and people will pick up. They will see. Okay, this person is not reluctant, so let me try. And he's happy because happiness is a byproduct of awareness of Krishna. And when people see, what was the discussion the other day, Lee, where the devotee said that our desires are triangular. It's not that it's me and the desire and there's connection. The desire develops when I see another person enjoying that object, and then I become lustful for it. So in the same way, when we see somebody who's happy in bhakti, then we become inspired and to uh, follow them. So that's how we teach. We teach by example. We show good example, and we offer all credit where it's due to Arjuna Prabhu, to Adipurusha Prabhu, to our senior devotees who represent the Guru. Even junior devotees represent the Guru if we have the proper mentality. In this way, one may become Vigata Jvara, or without feverish mentality or lethargy. Vigata Jvara, let me see. Vigata Jvara, without being lethargic. No lethargy. Everyone, according to his quality and position, has a particular type of work to discharge, right? Dancers must dance for Krishna. Writers must write for Krishna. Entrepreneurial devotees must generate Lakshmi for Krishna, right? Cooks must cook, and so forth. Has a particular type of work to discharge, Srila Prabhupada says, and all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness. So they shouldn't be given up. Duties should not be given up. What are the three things that should not be given up according to Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita? Dana is one of them. Given charity should not be given up. Jagannath Kapal, what are the other two?
Sacrifice and penance. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Jamuna Jaya. Thank you. Jamuna Jaya, how did you fortify your intelligence like this?
Krishna and Gurudev.
Nice. This is a Vaishnavi. The credit went where it's due. And all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness as described above. That will lead one to the path of liberation. Okay, so this is what I wanted to share today. With this, I'm opening it up for our Naimisharanya Forest sages. Jeffrey Eckler Prabhu, please unmute yourself.
Very cool. It's an interesting concept that you focused on there for a moment, the Adhyatma Chetasha. So that's an embodied state of being. Is that the understanding that we're to have because it occurs within the mind?
Adhyatma, you mean is this state of consciousness available to us mortals down here?
Or reverse that, is it only available to those who are embodied because it occurs in the mind? And then what would be the description of that beyond?
Full knowledge of the self. I think from what I understood from the purport, Srila Prabhupada described this as Krishna consciousness. And Krishna consciousness is available to the embodied selves and also to, but it's a little covered, but then it's fully manifested in those who aren't embodied. Right? So, but it's the same self. The self does not change. It's just it's either aware of it is either has the knowledge of the self or it doesn't. And when a mortal being becomes aware of Krishna and his true self in relation to Krishna and engages positively in action for Krishna, that adhyatma becomes uh, executed. But it's there, that quality is there, both in spiritual world and in the material world, as far as I understand. And I'm open to corrections. I live to be corrected.
I
I
guess
give class to be corrected.
my question's kind of almost like a technical question in that if you have full awareness of the self, then you have to have some confusion about the self in order to have any awareness of the self or to seek awareness of the self.
I'm not sure. Let's say there's a resident of the spiritual world and he or she realizes the self. Does that mean that they have to have some kind of, clouded area in their realization? I don't think so. They realize it without having to to not realize it. That's duality. That's down here. That law applies here on earth. We have to have duality in order to realize the self.
They don't realize the self. They are the self.
Thank you, Bhima
Right.
Prabhu. Thank you. Is that satisfying, Jeffrey Prabhu? Did Bhima nail it?
I think Bima's correct that they are the self. I think that
Yeah.
when they're at that, when an individual is at that stage or a personality is at that place, that you kind of bridge that gap or change that paradigm from a seeking and a self-realization to an absolute realization that is untenable. It's unchangeable. So the idea that you would have this duality where you would be able to identify and then realize the self is solely an existent reality for an embodied being that has been covered by Maya.
In other words, it is what it is.
Yes. Thank you, Bhima. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. What's that Bhima Sutra? It is what it is. Bhima Sutra. Sutra is a cryptic way of saying profound scriptural concepts. Krishna Kumari followed by Vijay Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for the class. I'm a trained kindergarten teacher, Waldorf kindergarten teacher, and I had a kindergarten in my home, and it was lovely. I have my husband made songs about Gajendra, and we had circle, and it was really wonderful time. Now my daughter's grown and takes care of children, but the most, I think, important thing that she took away was that these other kids would come over and they would put their doll in their backpack. They didn't want anyone to touch their stuff. Like they would leave it at the entrance. But meanwhile, at our house, everything was Krishna's, and everybody could play with everything. And so now she takes care of children, and these kids, she doesn't get to set the rules because the parents set the rules for this house. Like the kid locked the door when he had a play date come over and locked them in his playroom. So she's just like, Mom, it's just so disturbing. Like everything is Krishna's. And then I had another point in regards also to toddlers and this idea of, basically when one child's playing with a toy, then the other child wants it because it looks so attractive. But then the parents want to step in and say, you have to share, you have to share. But I was taught this kind of more empathy, where you acknowledge, Gopal wants this toy. Oh, and, Bhima wants this toy. And then actually it's not about, they're not forced to share. They actually want to give it to the other. So I was thinking of this when you were talking a few minutes ago. Just this, like, Krishna consciousness is so attractive if we're really working it, and we're exhibiting the inner, like the ownership, right? Like owning what our mistakes are, right? And having empathy for others. It's quite a profound thing, even with little beings. We can all learn. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Krishna Kumari. Yeah, there's enough service for everyone in Krishna consciousness. In this movement, Srila Prabhupada has created enough toys for us. You know, kirtan being one, class, so many things we can apply ourselves in. Thank you, Krishna Kumari. It's all a big playroom. Yeah, we're all
Oh,
part of this.
Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna's playroom. Thank you, Krishna Kumari. Vijay Krishna Prabhu from Portugal.
Yes, Azores Archipelago, San Miguel Island, where I live and preach. Prabhu, my question is in the chat.
Would you like to read it?
Of course, Prabhu. And this is because of the following quote in the translation to the text you chose for today. The quote goes as follows, quote, he performs no fruitive action, close quote. So based on this quote, the question I posted in the chat was and is, uh, why is it that fruitive actions are not good for a devotee? That is my question.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very, very intelligent question. A short answer would be because it binds us. There, it's a binding force. The more we, it's like fruitive action is very frustrating actually because you expect a certain result. You know, so it's not fun even while you're doing it. It's not pleasurable. It's not fun because you are tied up by the result. There's no freedom. It's suffocating, and it's also it's a binding force. The more we engage with the material world in a fruitive way, the more entangled we become. Srila Prabhupada says it's entangling, and entanglement is not fun. It's like this Vaisheshika Prabhu again. He has this wonderful analogy of tar baby. Tar is a very sticky substance. It's dark, sticky substance, and when you try to fight it, the more you try to kind of break free from it, but the more you mess with it, the more entangled, the more glued in you become by the star baby. So, so in other words, the more we mess, the more we try to get pleasure out of the material world, the more entangled we get, and in the end, everything gets taken away from us. So it's a cheat, you know. It's not. It doesn't bring any pleasure. It's binding, and it's cheating. So that's a short answer. And let's open it up. Let's open. Maybe devotees have other suggestions. Siham followed by Bhima.
Yeah, thank you, Ananda Behari Prabhu. I just wanted to make a small addition, if that makes sense. So when we do fruitive activities, we're almost guaranteed that we'll be generating karma. And it's not really what we want, right? Whereas when we do devotional service or when we're not attached to the results, we have some guarantee from the Shastra that Krishna will sort of eliminate that karma. So I see it from a karma generating activity versus karma free. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. We're not interested in creating karma. Srila Prabhupada says akarma. It does not create karma when we act in Krishna consciousness. And karma means good and bad consequences. So, as devotees, we own karma in the sense that we want to burn it. When it happens, it's my past misdeed. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam about that. That when something happens, this is not that it's Krishna's mercy, which it is to us. To the extent we are aware of Krishna, it's Krishna's mercy, but it's also the result of our past misdeeds, and we own it. And when we act in Krishna, it does not create karma, but it goes beyond karma so much more. It goes in the realm of love. Bhima Prabhu, it's 8 o'clock. Do you have
Yeah,
to
go
close the
ahead.
meeting?
Let's
Afterglow. Okay, cameras on, please. We want to see your playroom. See, Martina's on the swing. This is a playroom. Yes.
Came to the devotional service. Bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. Let his grace run across the ocean materials that contain the mercy of Krishna. I only wish to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth, and from him ecstatic prema emanates. My ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master, the ocean of wisdom, came to before the Lord and Master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shame of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet.
Thank you, Janitai Prabhu. Okay. So yeah, imagine you walk into the temple room, you want to play harmonium for Krishna or mridanga for Krishna, but your hands are tied. And you look down and you see that what's this black thing in my hands, tying them up? Oh, it's the tar baby of my selfish desires. It's not fun. There's no fun in that. Imagine you walk around with your hands tied with this black substance, sticky substance. And then the more you try to get rid of it, the more entangled you become by it. So that's fruitive mentality. We should develop positive taste for Krishna, and then as a byproduct, always the tar baby will walk away. Somehow, my mind works in such a way that I need some graphic imagery for the point to really sink in me. Okay,
I've got
Bhima Prabhu.
graphic imagery. You want graphic imagery, Prabhu?
Yes.
Yeah. the graphic imagery is your wife taking it to you after you end this class for talking about her when she has no chance to defend herself. That's going to be graphic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Prepare to suffer, dude.
Yeah.
Anyways,
By the way, Bhima Prabhu always, every time I complain about my, Bhima always sides with Chinmaya Radha. Always, every single time he sides with her. Thank you, Bhima Prabhu.
I'm siding with the teacher. You're going to learn. You're being taken to school. It's marriage is school, and you're going to be taught a lesson. But in that, we can always laugh like you're doing, Prabhu, which is always maintain a sense of humor. Prabhupada said a devotee is jolly. Why are we jolly? Well, when Prabhupada came over here, he had nothing to be jolly about after 2 heart attacks and arriving in a city that frightened him just by virtue of the Jaladuta docking in Boston. How am I going to do this? How am I going to bring Krishna consciousness to this matrix? And the thing is that Krishna can do anything, and that's what Prabhupada thought, and that's why Prabhupada said, make me dance. He wasn't just being poetic here. He realizes that, and we realize, as far as fruitive activity goes, the thing is we're not in control. We're not in control when we're in Maya, meaning the 3 modes have the strings. Remember that picture of the 3 women? Because it is women's fault that we are under control as guys.
And the guys are in the suits with the
the taskmasters. But look who the real controllers are, right? Anyways, so we can either dig a ditch with the strings attached to ourselves, somebody yelling, our boss yelling at us, whatever, or we can be under Krishna's. We can be Krishna's puppet, and that's when you still are, as Arjun did. You still pulled the string. You still went through years of furtively or passionately trying to learn an art, a martial art, and to hit the bullseye, and to cry out in great joy when you do hit the bullseye. We're not a dead religion. It is not that we don't fight. It is not that we don't yearn and aspire, but we take our jolliness and we take Krishna, we give Krishna all the credit, all the due. And then we start to understand that Krishna has us on a journey. And in that journey, we will learn lessons and will become more and more perfect, as which we have to become. Because, I mean, if I was Krishna, I wouldn't want me hanging out in Goloka with me. You know what I mean? It's like, no, dude, you got some stuff to learn, and then you can come when you're fully, got a clue. You can come and hang out.
Would you, if you were Krishna, would you allow Jeffrey Eckler to hang out there as he is?
Oh yeah, Jeffrey Eckler would be by the sideline calling the plays. He would be like an announcer. He'd give the score like me and the Cowherd boys would be, having some kind of competition, and Jeffrey Eckler would keep the score on the side. That's where I see Jeffrey Eckler. And then he joins in, of course. We pick you. You're on our team.
Jeffrey Eckler says he's on your team as a mascot. In his humility, Jeffrey Eckler says, "Thank you, Prabhu."
Yeah, we have to have a little sympathy for Krishna, not sympathy, empathy and sympathy that he has to put up with us. He literally is by our side watching this tomfoolery called our lives. And we're like, oh man, I can't believe I'm putting you through this. I can't believe, after you told me this several ways to Sunday through the Guru Shastra and even whispering in my ear, that I went ahead and did it anyways. Because why? Because I got free will, because I think I have free will. But then he goes, well, here's Maya. She's going to give you your comeuppance. She's going to give you the result of you thinking that you're in control. And then you suffer the result. But when you're in Krishna's control, no matter what happens to you, if that arrow doesn't hit the bullseye, well, Arjun was jolly and he just grabbed another arrow and he pulled the string and he aimed the best he could. And so we always have to realize being non-fruitive doesn't mean we're not hard workers. It doesn't mean that we're not going to fight the fight. It doesn't mean that we're not going to raise a family and love them to the best of our ability. And then you give Krishna the result, and you're free.
Yeah, the entanglement, the tar baby is not your family. The tar baby is here. Is your
Tar baby is your mind.
yeah. Yeah. What's a tar baby? Tar baby is a black sticky man who is entangling you. And the more you try to get rid of him, the more entangled you get. Because tar is very sticky. What's that? You like that guy? Okay. You'll meet them. You'll meet him. When you okay. Let's Garangi interject in. All right. Krishna Kumari followed by Jagannath Gopal.
I thought the same thing. I never heard of a tar baby.
You should put a tar baby in your playroom,
Never.
Krishna Kumari, and put do not touch. This is entangling.
Dusty the gnome might, have a little story about him, but so anyway, I'm in the, the co-op, the honest, this like healthy store, and this dad's holding their baby and saying, which of these baby foods do you want? This is the material world. It's so distressing. A child's not supposed to pick out everything. So there's this one rambunctious little kid, and the parents and their caregivers are always like letting the kid decide what they want to eat, where they want to go, if they want to go to this play group today or not. And it's actually stressing the child out. It's no good. It's the same thing for us. It's just not good to be all over the place. At the end of the day, we're just like the child the parents think they're making their life easier and by letting the child decide, but they're making their lives harder because then the child's out of control and exhausted and acts out. Children shouldn't be making all these choices, and we are the children in the material world. It's just too much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Krishna Kumari. Thank you. If I had a kindergarten teacher like you, I would have been a normal person, maybe even a pure devotee. Who knows? Okay, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu.
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. Really beautiful. Just a quick thing you mentioned in the beginning that how this world of AI is taking away our awareness, right? And we need awareness is like our asset in a sense, so that we can become aware of Krishna. But it's so distracting these days. So I was watching a documentary on the ill effects of social media. Yeah, I mean. I was watching a digital content documentary about the ill effects of digital content, which is ironic, but in there they said something really interesting. One point that hit me was they said, so the statement is, if you are being given something for free, then you are the product. So like all this Instagram and YouTube reels and whatnot, it's all just there for free. But it's not that it's there for free for us. Like that is not
I
the
always say if it's free, it's not for me.
Mm.
When the government gives out free light bulbs, LED light bulbs, I say, oh, I'm going to think about this. When the government gives out free injections, I'm going to think about this. If it's free, if they're not giving out free love of God,
Yeah.
free's not for me.
Thank
Yeah, they're
you.
definitely trying to buy you.
Yeah, they're targeting us, right, Jagannath Gopal?
Everything can be used in Krishna's service. And
Yeah.
we are in want on a social media site right now talking about Krishna and talking and sharing intimately amongst devotees to say that social media is the problem. It's the utilization of social media for distraction. I have my
Yes.
algorithm. I'm an old man and I don't know anything about anything, but I have an algorithm on my Instagram that has me surrounded with Prabhupada, with
Horses.
horses, yeah, um, you know, uh, advice sites on how to control one's wife without her knowing about it. Um, no, but anyways, yeah, I mean, it can all be used the thing is to watch ourselves. Once again, we're casting blame upon something in the material world. Even herbs that are sometimes we considered poisonous in tiny, tiny, tiny amounts are medicinal. You know, so similarly, we are using social media right now, and we're using it righteously, and to free ourselves. It's all where our consciousness is going. Yeah, I remember, you know, that I saw this Maharaj kind of give like a advice column or something, and you know, it was what does it say, an interview, and he said, yes, the social media, you know, the devotees are constantly shifting through social media, and he goes, we need to put this social media away, and he put the phone down, and then he opened up a Bhagavatam to read the Bhagavatam. But see, we can read the Bhagavatam on social media. You know what I mean? There's so many sites that have Prabhupads, and you can't. You can when you find a word that you don't know, or a concept that Prabhupada is talking about, you want to see where else. You can simply highlight it and look up and find Prabhupada, you know, expanding upon a particular curiosity that you might have. So we have to be mindful about ourselves. What is our motive in utilizing anything? What is our motive to get married? What is our motive for scrolling for 2 hours? What is our motive? Is our motive to get closer to Krishna, or is our motive to divert our attention from the, you know, reality?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Thank you,
yeah.
Bhima Prabhu. Yeah. Very nice principle. If it's inevitable, then you have to somehow or other include Krishna in it if you have to deal with it, and which you have in this day and age. And I was thinking as Bhima Prabhu was talking, I was listening very attentively, but I was thinking that our mind is also like a social media. The same principle. You click on something once, and then it keeps popping up. So our mind is also can be trained, like Bhima Prabhu said, to see certain things in a certain light. So thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Thank you very much. Krishna Chandra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, wonderful class. I kept rapt attention, and it's not always easy for me to pay close attention, so I really appreciate the class. Also wanted to say what stuck out for me. Now it's like I think you said something to the effect that, you know, it can be a dangerous proposition in life that, you know, if we don't get this attachment, that, you know, there's so many distractions. And you know, what comes to mind, there was a movie called Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The last line was, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it. And I just feel like, you know, there was a time in my life where I was just doing the bare minimum spiritually, and I just at some point, like recently, I just asked myself, like, what am I doing? What's what do I expect to happen if I don't really try hard to become attached to Krishna and the devotees? So hopefully we all get the inspiration, and we'll move along and get out of here and look after each other. It's, you know, it reminds me of kind of like, you know, like when soldiers are going into an unfriendly place, you know, we have to look out for each other and make sure everyone gets out.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone gets out of the fruitive mentality into the mentality of awareness of Krishna and devotional service.
Exactly.
So we're not trying to escape, you know, any particular situation. We're trying to escape the pattern in the mind, the selfish pattern. Hold on. So I was just to wrap it up, dear devotees, just to wrap it up. I before I got married, I attended this. This is a confession. I attended this premarital counseling kind of seminar, and one of the things that they teach there is the two things you can tell your wife, and those are the only two things you can tell her ever in any conversation with your wife, with your spouse. There's only two things you can tell her. Number one is how beautiful she is and how much you love her. That's one thing. The other thing is you can tell her what you're going to do for her. And I was like, yeah, this makes sense. The same goes for Krishna. The highest prayer is when you glorify Krishna and then you present to him through the guru the fruits of your labor for Krishna, the labor of love. So the only two things we can tell Krishna as devotees is how much we love him, how wonderful he is, and what we're going to do in his service. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, let's see. Who wants to say Hare Krishna? Who wants to unmute themselves and say Hare Krishna? How about Sati Devidasi? Sati Devidasi, please. Unmute. I know you.
Hare
Sati.
Krishna.
Sati Devidasi, how's your Prabhu doing? Tell him we say hi.
I will tell him so, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I miss New York incredibly, so it's nice to finally get in this class and have a connection with the Bhakti Center again. I try to listen to the Brooklyn also live on YouTube, so it's nice to get connected.
Great. Thank you. Murari Gupta Prabhu Ki Jai. We love him. We miss him.
I'll tell him so.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna Om Tat Sat. Thank you for your association for this collective class. Have a wonderful Ekadashi. Go to the temple. It's a Sunday. Chant and dance and sweat for Krishna. At least a gallon of sweat, please. Each and every one of you, including YouTube introverts in their pajamas.